Okay, so we're going to take the yes men that's on the left. We're going to make it look just like the yes men on the right. Open up your character panel if you don't have it open already. Do that by going to Window, choosing Character. Then now we're going to highlight the yes. And we're going to hold the Option and Shift keys on our keyboard. I recommend using your right or your left hand for that, and then use your right hand to use the arrow keys. And in this case, we're going to use the left arrow. We're going to bounce the lettering until it's tighter so that the spacing is similar to the spacing for the movie poster, the Yes Men. To adjust individual letters, you can click and highlight in between the letters and then hold Option Shift, and once again use that left arrow or right arrow depending on what you're trying to do. So I'm just making a little tiny bit more space between my E and my S. So next I'm going to do that with the men word, and then I'm going to use the arrow keys, bounce them together, and I've got them pretty good now so that the spacing between the letters is good. And that spacing, by the way, is shown here. It's the tracking in between the letters. Okay, next I want to take and I want to make the letters fit so that they're justified. So I'm going to use a guideline. If you aren't showing your rulers already, go ahead and show them. Go to View and click Rulers. Also unclick Snap so that your guidelines don't snap to any grid. And you want to grab inside the ruler and pull a guideline and set it about as wide as you think you want the type to be. Then highlight the yes and make it smaller so that it fits within that space. And you know, at first you're going to be guessing to get it there, but just keep going until you have it perfectly fitting within the space. So that's pretty good. I might try 41 for mine. I'll stick with 42. And then I'll scoot the T over just a little, scoot the whole thing over. Okay, so for men, I'm going to make the font larger so that it fits. So I'm just trying a few things. So 70's close. I might have to drop it just a little. All right, and then once again, if you want to scoot the lettering over at all, you can. And I'm actually just going to move the whole thing. Just a little bit. So the last thing is to move the type so that the line spacing is the same, and that's the baseline shift over here in your character panel. It's right here. So you could just sort of start typing numbers in, or you can do the keyboards, which I think is always easier. So I'm going to highlight men. I'm going to hold Option Shift. I'm going to drag. I'm using my up arrow now to basically drag that type up so that it's underneath the yes. And now I'm doing a pretty good job of having everything be justified. The one thing I don't really like about this right at the moment is I think the and yes is just a little bit too close together. I might actually make my font one size smaller and then put just a little extra space in between the Y and the E. Always keep your words separate enough that they don't run together. All right, the last part of this is getting the color and the drop shadow on. And we're not going to do that for the rest of the exercises, but I thought we would do that just for this particular one. So we're going to double click on the layer that has the yes men. I'm not going to click where it says the Yes Men because it's going to think I want to change the file name. So I'm going to click on the blue part. That gives me the layer style box. Then I'm going to click Gradient Overlay. And I don't want to just check the box. I want to highlight the whole word. I'm going to pick a gradient. And I don't have a red to red gradient like how it is on here. So I'll just do red to green for now. And then I'm going to go into the gradient editor, and to get there you click once right on top of where the gradient is, like so. And now I'm going to sample the colors. So I'm going to click on the far left box, and then I'll hover over my type where the type is darker. And I don't know if you guys can see that, it's kind of subtle, but it's going from darker red to lighter red. So I want the dark red, and then I'll go to the green and I'm going to sample the light red. Finally, I'm going to adjust the angle in my layer style. So I'm going to go ahead and set that so it looks the same, and I want the dark side to be on the left, and then the right is the lighter red side.
Hey, tomorrow, please.
Okay, so then after that, I'm going to say okay, and I'm done with that part. Next part is to finish the bottom section, and it's very, very similar. You're going to be doing the same thing. The only difference is you're going to be widening the letters instead of tightening them for everything except for unknown. And then unknown you do need to tighten up. If you look at your layer panel, you'll see that some of these things are on separate layers. The Lame Neeson and unknown are both on separate layers. Take Back Your Life is all on the same layer. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to first I'm going to move my guideline out just a little bit, and I'm going to grab the type for Lame Neeson and highlight it. I'm going to use Option Shift and the right arrow, and I'm going to stretch those letters out until they hit my right guideline. Next, I'm going to do the same thing for the word take, and you're just going to do that, working all the way down. Back is actually pretty good. I might scoot it over just a little. And yours close. One more. Bounce over, I think. And then life. Now, one thing you could do, if it seems like the letters are really too far apart, you can always raise the font size. And when I look at it, it really does look to me like the word life and the word your are a little bigger. So I could do that too. I could just erase my font size slightly. Maybe I'll go to 72. And that way I don't have to make the letters so wide. And unknown is on its own layer, so go to the type layer to get that one. And this one you're going to tighten up instead of loosen the spacing. Now, always the last thing that you do is adjust the baseline shift, which is the space between the type. And the reason you do it last is because once you do it, it's really hard to select the letters, the words, because you'll try to grab one line and you'll grab the wrong line by mistake. So do that last. First, we're going to go ahead and I'll just grab the Lame Neeson. Since it's on its own layer, I can just use my move arrow, bounce it down just a little. And then I'm going to grab each word and I'm going to pop it forward or pop it up. You could, of course, move everything down too, whatever you want. And they're almost touching. Almost. Now, if you make the mistake of trying to do this part before you actually do the letter spacing, you'll find yourself struggling to grab the words. So in some cases, it's better just to start over. And then unknown is on its own layer, so I'm going to go ahead and when I'm ready for that one, I'll grab it and I'll just bounce it up. I could use the arrow keys. Notice to grab life, I actually have to grab lower down because of that baseline shift. It just moves where you have to go to grab. And now the word unknown, I'm just going to go to the layer and I'll just bounce it up. I can use my arrow keys or I could just move it. The shift key is going to make it move faster. And that's all you really have to do with that one is adjust the type. Hopefully you get your spacing so that it's pretty good. Make any fine-tuning you might want to do. But then, name it last name, first name, EX21, and then you're done.